Hey, what is good with y'all? It's your boy K.A.G, and today we're going to be talking about the Nintendo NX and what my whole theory is on the Nintendo NX and what I actually believe it is going to be. Now, after this video, we're actually going to be doing one about Super Metal Dave's theory, and we're actually going to be comparing it to my theory, and we're going to see what do y'all think, who's the, theory you think is actually going to turn out being, one that's going to actually be the one that Nintendo actually decides to go with. Now, with all that being said, let's go ahead and let's hop into this video. Now, for Nintendo NX, it is a lot of things for a lot of people. Some people think it's going to be a hybrid. Some people think it's going to be a console. Some people even think it's going to be a handheld. But you know what I think? I think it's going to be multiple devices. I don't think it's going to be one device. Now, Nintendo NX is more than likely going to be a platform of sorts. Now, let me go ahead and actually read a quote by Mr. Iwata himself. That way y'all can get an idea of where I'm going with this. Now, he goes on to say, "I am not sure if the form factor will be integrated. In contrast, the number of form factors might increase. Currently, we can only provide 2 form factors because if we had 3 or 4 different architectures, we would face serious shortages of software on every platform. To cite a specific case, Apple is able to release smart devices with various form factors one after another because there's one way of programming adopted by all platforms. Apple has a common platform called iOS. Another example is Android. Though there are various models, Android does not face software shortages because there's one common way of programming on the Android platform that works with various models. The point is, Nintendo platforms should be like those 2 examples. Whether we will ultimately need just one device will be determined by what consumers demand in the future, and that is not something we know at the moment." Now, if you look at that actual statement right there, we have Mr. Iwata stating that, hey, right now we can't, actually create and develop more games for, multiple devices because we have the 3DS hardware, we have Wii U hardware. They're both completely different. They both cannot have, the same actual gameplay on both devices because the architecture and everything are completely different for both of them. So what we plan on doing in the future is actually developing, one architecture that works for multiple devices. So this is going to allow for Nintendo to actually do 3 or 4, maybe even 5 or 6 different, platforms or different systems that they will all have the exact same gameplay on them, and they won't have to worry about software shortages. So this kind of hints towards there not being a hybrid, because he even states in this actual sentence that, whether or not we will need one particular device that, caters to all of these is to be determined by the consumers. Consumers yet have not went with the multi-platform system, so they don't know whether or not they only need one device rather than multiple devices. So that kind of kills the hybrid rumor right there of it being one particular device. Now, going on from there, he also stated that we should be like Android and Apple, where, our games go across all platforms, or our apps go across all platforms. And this is actually kind of hinting towards something that just recently happened, where Nintendo streamlined its development programs into a single global system. And what this allowed was for regular individuals, regular people like you and I who aren't really game developers, to actually go ahead and try to develop games or apps for the Nintendo platform. Now, why is this actually, a big thing? Well, this could actually lead to there being thousands upon thousands of apps, or maybe even millions upon millions of apps and games on the Nintendo platforms. Because now we have independent people. You don't have to actually be a game developer or a tools developer or a publisher to have access to these tools that Nintendo utilizes in order to make their games on their different platforms. So it kind of opened up the door for everybody to create games, whether or not you're a person with a small budget or you're a big, huge company that has a huge $1 million budget. Anybody can actually develop for Nintendo now. So that was a big deal right there. And like Android and iOS, they do the exact same thing. Anybody can develop for Android, anybody can develop for iOS. And so by Nintendo actually changing that business model, that is actually a huge deal for Nintendo. It may not sound like a big deal at first, but it is a huge major deal. And that also brings me to another point in which I actually believe that they are more targeting towards Android and iOS devices rather than your Xbox and your PlayStation. I don't believe they're really targeting PlayStation and Xbox. As Reggie said, let them go ahead and fight that battle out there in the Red Sea. He believes, or Nintendo believes that, the money is in the mobile, which it is. Billions of dollars are being in mobile. And as you can see, if you look at the latest in Pokemon Go has been doing millions, not millions of dollars per se, but they're getting millions of downloads. And that is a huge thing for Nintendo because, their stocks actually raised 10% since they actually released Pokemon Go. And Pokemon Go is not everywhere yet. So it's potentially even going to grow even more from there. So I believe that they're actually going to be targeting more of those mobile devices, your tablets, your iPhones, your iPads, devices like that is what I believe they're actually going to be targeting. Not necessarily Xbox and PlayStation. Now, is that saying that it's not going to have good graphics? No, it doesn't mean that it's not going to have amazing graphics or anything like that. It's just that they're not really focusing on the console market per se. They're targeting more of, the casuals and the core audiences because think about it. Everybody has either a smartphone or a tablet device. Now, with that being said, that lets you know that there's millions upon millions of people, possibly even a billion people, with a mobile device that they actually use to play their games on, or to watch YouTube or Netflix or different things like that. So I think they're targeting that audience and they're going to try to do their own spin on it. So I believe they're going to be the gaming form of device that is actually in that field. So for example, you have your Apple devices, you have your Android devices, and now you're going to have your Nintendo devices. So sort of like what Kindle did with their ebooks and making a platform or system that is dedicated towards reading books. I think that Nintendo's going to do one where it's dedicated towards playing games. Now, as far as devices, I do believe there'll be probably a handheld version, a console version, and possibly a tablet version or maybe a kid's version. So, I believe Nintendo NX will probably be, multiple devices, but they will all have the exact same game. So for example, if you were to go inside of a store and pick up a Nintendo game, you would go to the Nintendo section. It will not be separated by handheld and console. It would just be Nintendo, and you would just go there and you would pick out a cartridge, and you wouldn't have to worry about what device you own. It would be able to play that game. So for example, if you had a tablet device, it could play that game. If you had a handheld device, it could play it. If you had a console, it would be able to play it. So I think, relatively, they will all be able to play the exact same games, but I do think that, the console would possibly be cheaper than the actual handheld devices, or maybe they'll be similarly priced, because I do think that you could possibly end up with a 7-inch tablet version of a Nintendo console, or should I say Nintendo NX, or a 10-inch version of an NX. You never know what they could actually do. And it would allow them to actually create multiple reiterations of the same device multiple years. So for example, what you would have here is possibly you could get another Nintendo NX version, 2 years from now, or a year from now, maybe even 3 years from now. But it will all still be able to play the exact same games. There's no difference in the actual gameplay. It would just be a new, different hardware. Maybe this one is made of aluminum rather than plastic, So there's tons of different things Nintendo could be doing with the NX, and I believe that it's going to be multi-platform. It's going to be not multi-platform. It's going to be multiple different hardware reiterations, rather than one particular console device with a traditional controller. Now granted, yes, you'll be able to go inside of the store and probably pick up a Nintendo NX that is a console version that comes with a actual game controller that hooks up to your TV, but I also believe that you could also pick up a handheld version that does the exact same thing. You could pick up a tablet version that does the exact same thing. So your tablet would probably have controls on the side, your actual handheld would have controls, and then your console would have controls. They're all targeted towards gaming, but they target more of the mobile crowd. So with that being said, now if you were to turn on these devices, your Nintendo NX device, whether it was the tablet, handheld, console, whatever version you had, you'd be presented with the exact same menu screen. The menu screen would pop up there just like it does on Apple. If you pull up any Apple device, it has the exact same layout. Everything looks exactly the same. and it will look exactly the same across all these different hardware. And you would be able to play the exact same games, download the exact same apps. Everything will be the exact same, across all the different devices for Nintendo. But yeah, that's what I believe they're doing. They're coming out with multiple devices for the Nintendo NX. Whether or not we see multiple of them, on day one when they actually announce it, we don't know. But I do strongly believe that we will see multiple devices on day one. When this NX is actually revealed, I think we will see multiple devices. There will be the tablet version, the handheld version, and the console version. And who knows, maybe even a hybrid version. But we'll just have to wait and see what actually goes down. But anyways, if y'all enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button. And as always, if you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget, we have the Super Metal Dave theory that is going to be going down probably tomorrow. So I will let y'all know about that. And as always, I'll talk to y'all on another one. Peace.